Hello folks, welcome back to the Jordan 411 Sports Show. Today's guest is a former Olympic basketball player. But most of all, what he loves is coaching. He's the founder of the Winnipeg Wolf program and was inducted into the Canadian Basketball Hall of Fame. Please give a warm welcome to Martin Riley. My next guest is a good basketball player in his own right. He was invited to Nike All Canada and only the top 75 players get to go. He played for the women's team and was captain for 5 years. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Opalko. I want to thank you both for coming on my show. I've been really pumped for the last 2 weeks.
Great, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I've been pumped.
And I've been waiting for you to ask.
Now, my first question is for you both. Why do you like basketball?
Youth.
Youth, okay, youth before beauty. I think I first got into basketball when I was really young because my dad used to play basketball on the Canadian national team and around the same time that Mr. Riley played. So as a young kid, I always grew up hearing different stories about different people, Mr. Riley being one of those included, and started by getting a little mini hoop at home and all this kind of history since then.
I got into basketball probably by mistake, just something to do, and I was my first kick at it was we played 4 games. We were 0-4, and I got to play because all the hockey guys quit. So it was a win-win for me.
Were you good when you first started playing?
I was horrible, horrible, and I remember people laughing but that was okay because I got better.
Now we'll move on to my third question. Who is your idol that you looked up to when you played?
Well, I think I'll tie that back to my dad, just because when I was young, he was still playing some senior men's and I could go and watch him play. Spent a lot of time shooting hoops on our driveway, and whenever I would go to a basketball game and I would run into people in the basketball community, they'd always tell me different stories of when my dad played.
How has your dad helped you in your game?
We had a really good relationship where we decided we wanted to communicate well for our team to do well, and he never put any pressure on me. So his big thing was if we were driving home after a game, he didn't bring it up with me until I brought it up. And so then he would give me some different tips and things I could work on.
Well, my mentor would have been my high school coach. Bought me my first pair of basketball shoes. We couldn't afford anything, and all my success was due to him. His name is Gary Grubert. Without his guidance and his trust in me, I wouldn't have accomplished anything near to what I had accomplished.
And how much were basketball shoes back then? Compared to now.
Well,
I know now
it was the basketball shoes he bought me were $7.
What were one of your strengths and weaknesses as a player?
Okay, weaknesses. Like I'm shorter than him. When I made the national team, when I was in grade 12, the coach said, "Well, you're not tall," and I went, "Duh." And he says, "You're not that fast," and I knew that. He says, "You're not that quick. You don't shoot the ball really well." I had a long list of things that were weaknesses that I had to work on. But he did say, and this is a strength that I believe that I have, is I understand the game. Things and said, "You really understand the game well. and you make up for a lot of those weaknesses that you have.
I think I'd have a similar answer. So I'm pretty tall now, and people notice that when they see me, but for the majority of my basketball, I was quite short, and it wasn't until about grade 11 or 12 where all of a sudden I shot up and got
Really?
taller. I was slow, and I didn't play very good defense, but the things that I did do well were some of the skills. I worked on my weaknesses, but some of the skills that I was good at, I had to make sure I was effective. So if my coach wanted me to be a shooter, I had to make sure that I was shooting a high percentage shot, so they'd trust me to do that. If he wanted me to pass, then I had to make sure I was a passer.
What's the hardest thing about being a coach?
Well, the hardest thing that I find is allowing the players to actually play and trusting them that they're going to eventually get what you're trying to get across to them. Immediate success, but in long-term success, and that's the toughest thing.
When you were coming out of high school, you got, like, did you get scouted by the national team?
Well, I tried out in grade 11. I was 16 years old, and my coach, who again is my mentor, threatened me that if I didn't go to the tryouts, I didn't get invited. I just showed up. I said, "Hi, Coach Donahue. My name is so and so. Can I try out for your team?" Only because my high school coach threatened me. He liked what he saw. He was going to have me play on the B team, but he said, "I think you're just too young." And he invited me the next year, and then I made the team.
That amongst the basketball community here in Manitoba is something that's commonly talked about. That Mr. Riley had played at that level at a high school is an amazing accomplishment to be able to have that opportunity.
I have some money here for you.
I was aware of that.
And you do a lot of fundraising, isn't that right? Can you tell me what that is?
Well, you introduced me as the Humanitarian Hoopster. Somewhere along the road I was given that nickname. As an adult, when I finished my university basketball career, that basketball had really been good to me. And I kind of decided I wanted to give back to the game. And so I was very fortunate. I worked as an affiliate staff member of Athletes in Action and was able to travel and work with kids in over 20 countries. And when I was in those countries, I really saw some of the poverty. And a big thing for me as a teacher and a counselor was these kids don't only need to play sports, but they need to get an education. And I really felt that was a way out of poverty. We raised around $40,000 and went out and paid for school fees for a group of kids in Swaziland, Africa. And they were able to get school shoes and uniforms, and we tried to remove some of those obstacles. So that's been an important way for me to use basketball to give back.
Why did you start the Wolf program? Because I've been looking on your site, and it's actually pretty amazing.
First of all, I wanted to give elite basketball players who weren't at the provincial level a chance to continue training and maybe attain that goal of making a provincial team or moving on to post-secondary. So I started the Wolves program up, and we started with not being very good again, and it took us about 3 years to actually progress to a point of being competitive. And we went 3 years without winning a tournament, a game in a tournament in the States. We've had the good fortune to have a couple guys come through our program. Ben Miller's one of them, and he's playing for Acadia University, made the junior national team. We have a number of good players, but another one is playing at a prep school in the States as a direct result of playing with our Wolves program and being seen in the States. And his name is Emmanuel Acott. Probably a dozen or more Division I schools in the States.
Why did you choose to go to Brazil? You couldn't you not make the NBA, but you chose the international route instead?
Well, thank you. No, I didn't have a chance to make the NBA. The game that they play doesn't suit what I do. And so when I played in Argentina, they phoned me, and I had a chance to play in Uruguay and a couple other places, and it just worked out. And they paid me to play.
They actually pay you pretty good chunk of change. How much was it when you played?
It was enough to, you know, probably the equivalent, back then in the day, like, that's a long time ago, it was the equivalent of about a $75,000 to $80,000 a year job here.
Like a teacher? Am I overstepped? Can I say that?
You know something? It's not in the money, the kind of money that Mr. Bruce makes.
How about what you make?
You know, depends on how generous Mr. Bruce is feeling. After this interview, it may go down.
That your teaching strategies, are they similar to your coaching strategies?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow. I would imagine that they are, and that my teaching strategies have changed a great deal in the classroom, just like my coaching has. Looking for their strengths and weaknesses, and not let their weaknesses hold them back, and let them express those strengths of theirs in class.
I think too, when you're an athlete and you play in a team sport, like we did with basketball, that teaches you a lot of different skills in terms of dealing with people. A lot of the stuff we did on our teams kind of comes out in terms of communicating with people or trying to take a leadership role and stuff like that.
I'm sure you guys also party lots and all that stuff. You might not want to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, party hard, yeah. No, you know something? The party scene wasn't something that I actually got into, but that's part of the discipline of when you want to accomplish something. I can't do that right now. It's not that I didn't go to parties or anything like that, but it certainly wasn't a focus of mine. That's all. But hey, good question again.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you for coming. That's it, folks. Make sure you comment and subscribe on